All right, everybody. I'm very pleased to welcome back to the podcast for the first time as a guest since 2022, Gary Miceli. Gary, how are you, buddy?
Good. How are you, Jeff?
I am I'm trying to describe I'm having a tough time processing my emotion of having, note the word having as an important one, to start drinking at 11 a.m. For this podcast. Because obviously I have to do that. That's not an option. That's a
Of course, of course.
so I was gonna say I'm a little angry at you for scheduling this early, and then the flip side of me was like, I'm kind of really happy you scheduled this time.
It's called the morning beer. Well, it's not really morning anymore. It's 11:20, so it's like lunchtime beer.
Yeah, well, it's whiskey, so it'll hit a lot faster.
There you go.
It opens up my options for the rest of the day. I
Right.
have a phone call at 2 o'clock with an actress, potential actress for my next film. We'll touch on that at some point. Um, that's a short call, so I'll be fine by 2 o'clock. But then after that, it gives me the option of being drunk all day and just passing out at probably an early hour tonight. Uh,
Or just passing out just
or I could take a nap at like 2:15 until 5 o'clock and then drink for 8 hours starting that. Like the world's my
there,
oyster at this
there's
point.
so many options for you.
It's I've been told I romanticize drinking, but what's not to love about it?
I mean, hey. So, Jeff, to start this podcast, I have six quick questions for you.
All right. Do you want these to be like instant reaction or actually think before I speak?
Um, you know what? You decide that.
Okay. We'll see
Okay.
what the first question is and I'll pick a choice.
Six, what's your favorite thing to squeeze?
I mean, low hanging fruit here. It's a boob.
Of
I'm
course.
trying to think of something else.
Scariest movie you've ever seen. One that made you just literally like shit your pants.
I'm I, I haven't shit my pants since I was a baby, so I don't know. Sesame Street movie. No,
That's the movie.
I don't watch horror movies that actually scare me. Um, I don't like gore. I guess one that left me a hard time falling asleep was Paranormal Activity. And it's just because
Um,
I'm kind of hyper vigilant to begin with, so I hear all the creaks and little noises all the time, and it always bothers me. And that movie really picks on people with like hyper vigilance,
yeah.
like because it's all these subtle things like the door slowly moving and stuff. So I just needed to watch a movie to flush my brain and make it stop being hyper vigilant. So
So you picked Spy Kids.
yes, Spy Kids for sure.
Yeah.
Actually,
What's
Spy
your
Kids 2, I think, was the scary one.
Spy Kids 3D Game Over?
Sure, yeah, that one.
Terrifying. Yeah. What's your favorite sound?
Huh. It's got to be whiskey pouring over ice, man.
That's actually a good sound. That's a really
Yeah.
nice sound. If you could act alongside one dead celebrity, who would you pick?
Would they be alive when I'm acting with them, or do I have to act with their corpse?
That's your choice.
I was gonna say I have to pick a really fresh one if I'm
Right,
acting with the
right.
corpse.
Betty White. No,
Who died yesterday? um, let's see. One dead celebrity I could act with. Um, can this be like a time machine, like in the
yeah.
prime? Okay,
Yep.
then
Yep.
Marilyn Monroe.
Beautiful, beautiful guest. W- in the last few years that you've done this podcast, who do you think, or one of them, is the most interesting guest you've ever had?
Oh, interesting could go a bunch of different ways. It could be like I find them interesting to talk to, or they could be a really weird person. Um, if interesting means really strange person, I have someone in mind who I've had on this year, and no, it's not you. Um, But
I'm really just about to say this.
no, no, no. I mean, you're interesting. You're in the discussion, not for the weirdest though. No, the
I'm
weirdest
in the discussion.
was somebody actually someone who's been on my podcast twice, and yeah, I'll let people guess at who that might be. But the most interesting, aside from that, uh, golly, no, there's too many people to like. I've had like 200 people on my podcast at this point.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
that's hard to say. I'll say Daniel the past life regressionist, mainly
Okay.
because I think he's been on more than anyone else. So I'll just give him the nod. He's multifaceted, multi-talented. He and I have written a pilot together even. So
He can fly, all that stuff.
yeah, he can fly, he can read minds,
Yeah.
you know. I've heard he
If
has
you
three penises.
if you could have one superpower besides flying, what would you choose?
Hmm. Um, I think maybe to selectively. That's a key word. I don't know if I get to choose how this power manifests, but I would say selectively read minds. Like only if
Yeah.
I want to.
Yes. Because I feel like reading minds, like if you would just go up to somebody and read their mind, that would kind of like, I don't know, it'd be weird. It's like an invasion of privacy or something.
Yeah, it could help when you're talking to someone who's a little cagey,
Yeah.
or picking up women.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Um, so that would be, being able, but selectively. You don't want all that
Right.
noise in your head and so many horny dudes, like you know.
My last question. Top three people you love to collaborate with.
Um, God, I haven't collaborated with that many people. If I think about it, like, um,
Well, I guess if you're on a film set, that's a collaboration.
yeah, well, then I'm going to count this as one person. I have to include Christopher Smith and Rick McGonigal. They were
Okay.
the director and writer of The Last Ride and the producer of The Last Ride, along with me. And we also worked together on Haunted Happy Hour. And Rick and I are already working on Thanksgiving again, which
That's
is
right. That's right.
the next movie that we'll be filming this summer. Um, so I have to include, I'm just going to include them as one person, though. So let's see. I got two more. Trying to be very politically correct for some reason with this answer. Um, I just thought of a funny one. Jesus. Oh,
Oh,
there you go. Jesus.
yes,
There we go.
second, Jesus.
I love to
Yeah,
collaborate with
Jesus.
Jesus.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't think he always approves of my lifestyle,
No, he doesn't mind.
you
But
know,
he's always there for you.
and he forgives. He's a
That's
forgiving
right.
man.
That's right.
Forgiving Lord. So yeah, we'll say that. Um, Golly. See, I want to say some of you people like yourself or Daniel, the past life regressionist, or
Yeah.
Dominic Scarcella, who I've met through the podcast world and maybe done some stuff with. But I gotta shift it back to I feel like to really get in, you gotta be in person with it at least at some point. So I will. I'll give a tie for third place between Jeremiah Hensley, who you met. He
Yeah.
did not know you were acting, by the way.
That was
When
fantastic.
you met when we filmed for the Dads and Drink show, and then I got to shout out my buddy John Masiag. I don't actually know how to pronounce his last name either. But he acted with me. He did a sketch in Dads and Drink Show. He was my co-star in The Last Ride. And he also, I met him on the set of Haunted Happy Hour. So we've done three acting gigs together at this point. So I think that's the most
Yeah.
I've collaborated on screen with somebody. So
Yeah.
I gotta shout him out.
So I need to ask you, The Last Ride is a movie you have filmed and is in post-production.
Yes.
So where are we in that film?
Like as far as how close are we to having it done or
Yeah, how close are we having it to being released?
um my hope is it'll be done in about a month.
Okay.
So then maybe in May we'd have a premiere. We're exploring our distribution options, so it's not necessarily going to be that it's going to be viewable, but this is going to be great podcasting, especially for audio listeners. I might, this is something I'll talk to you about. I'm just going to just drop my shit about the podcast on the podcast. Um, because I might be shifting to putting these podcasts on YouTube as well, which I've avoided my whole time doing this.
No.
Mainly because no, I don't want to share this. Just give me 1 second. Mainly because I do not. Oh crap! Made it full screen. I don't like. So editing audio is super easy. I mean, relatively easy. You see the bars. You see if there's
No.
a problem. Like if we record this episode and your audio is significantly lower than mine, I can go through, it'll be a little pain in the ass, but I can go through every time you talk and just amplify your audio
Yeah.
until it's
Yeah.
even. Easy enough. With a video, it becomes, at least as far as I know how to edit, exponentially more time consuming. So my problem is that means anytime the audio is not perfectly matched up, and as far as I can tell on Zoom, there's no way to know that. I'm sure there is, but maybe not. I don't know if there is on Zoom. I think on other platforms. So if I could just record the video, set it and forget it, and throw it on YouTube, I would have been doing that for a while now. The problem is it never works the way you want it to. And I also don't think that what we're looking at right now, just two guys on a Zoom screen, I don't think that's really something that people. Why would you want to watch that? Just listen to it.
Right. Yeah, I feel like most even video podcast people don't watch the video. They just let the audio roll in the background of what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay. Are you? What are you seeing right now?
I'm seeing your unfinished practical scenes and more. What's the more?
I mean, it's 55 minutes right here.
So is this
Can you hear it?
no, but I can make my own audio.
Oh, there's my buddy Chris and Nicole. They have a cameo in the film. I'm just gonna scroll through. This is us in the dispensary. Oh, I can't tell you what happens in that scene. This is us at the Fourth Street Shrimp Store.
Okay.
That's me in a car. This is us leaving. This is the Airbnb where we shot the vast majority of the movie. There's this was in a park in St. Pete.
Is
There's
that
clips.
Russell Crowe?
No, but it looks like he ate Russell Crowe. I'm kidding, Anthony. Mhm. No, he does look a little like Russell Crowe though.
Looks like Jeff Bridges and Russell Crowe had a
That's
child.
that's me and Sean Grant, who was on the podcast earlier. That's Jennifer Loriello, who was a tremendous stage and screen actress. The scene is fantastic, as is mhm. Well, I mean that scene's good too.
All the scenes are good.
Yeah, yeah. They're Adam Jordan plays his son, and I'm just not ending on him at all. Anyways, so that that video is pretty much done. Not completely. There's a couple things, but the audio still needs to be fixed, and
Okay.
musical composition needs to be added, which is
Yeah.
super important for any movie, but
Yeah.
especially in my mind, a drama more than I think more than other movies. I think a drama really needs that undertone.
Undertone. Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. That's how close we are, if that makes sense.
So about 2 months till it's released, pretty much.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my goal is to have a premiere in May. And ideally, we would have some place that we can put it, maybe originally just as a buy or rent option,
What
which,
streaming services are you looking at? Tubi, Amazon?
well, with what we're probably going to do if we don't get a particular offer ahead of time is put it on a website called Film Hub, and
Yeah,
they
right, right,
shop it for you.
right.
So ideally, it ends up on Tubi. It ends up on the freebie, which is on Amazon
Yeah, yeah,
Prime, so people can watch it for free. It'll be on Prime one way or another for rent or for
right,
purchase.
right.
Um, Ideally, it would get picked up on a free one where you some people can watch it for free as well. But I highly encourage people to pay the $2.99 to rent the movie. It's funny. I did that earlier because I have not seen a movie that I've wanted to see for a while. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, it's on Prime and you can rent it for $3.99. I'm like, why the hell haven't I done this yet? It's four fucking dollars. Like
What movie?
4th of July, which
Okay.
stars Joe List, who maybe by the time this is released, I'll have news about him potentially participating in a certain project.
Oh dear. Oh my.
Yeah, yeah, we've had talks. That's all. I probably shouldn't say that, but
That's all you can say.
yeah. Well, that literally is all I can say. Like I don't have an answer, or I'd be running around screaming naked probably with a
Yeah.
big erection.
I mean, somebody will pay for that.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Hopefully not me with jail time, but
So you wrote The Last Ride.
no, no. Chris Smith, the guy who directed it, wrote the script. I got story by credit because it was actually based on a thing that happened to me. Um, Not like the premise of the whole thing, not the whole story. So like just the premise of I was when my house was up for sale, I'd have to just leave the house for showings and stuff, and I also for renovations. So I just decided while this is happening, I'm going to drive for Uber because
Right.
I need to leave the house. I might as well make some money. So I was just driving for Uber and I picked a guy up from the hospital and it was a pretty long drive and he told me he had stage 4 cancer and he was going to be dead soon and he just finished his chemo treatment and uh I just thought, wow, there's some sort of story here.
Yeah.
Now, in real life, I dropped him off, but I said, there's a story here where this guy says, hey, can you just drive me around the next couple days? I'm going to be dead in 2 days. So, uh, and Chris kind of took the ball from there. I think I wrote one of the scenes was from my brain, but everything else, I sent him like 10 pages of stuff and he made his own script out of it with my request. He didn't just do it on his own. I requested he do it because I don't I couldn't get the story in my head because I feel like it maybe was a little too close. So I needed someone outside to write the story where I'm not the driver. Anthony Brazo is the driver. He's not me. We share some traits, but
Of course.
you know, so no, it was. I'll take a story by credit, but I did not write the script. Thanksgiving again is the first screenplay I've actually completed from start to finish.
So what's that about? Um, yeah, what's that about? When did you start writing it? Give me all the details.
Well, for same as the last ride, this was someone else's story idea. My sister-in-law, Victoria, who's been on the podcast actually
That's
once,
right. That's right. She told me about that.
but it was her idea to make a movie similar to Groundhog Day,
Okay.
where a woman who is preparing Thanksgiving for her in-laws, her loud, obnoxious Italian in-laws, gets stuck in a time loop. It has to repeat the day, for eternity. And I think that's pretty much all she gave me. And I wrote the movie. I, consulted a couple people here and there, including my brother and her and
People who work with
Daniel.
turkeys.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna have to consult a chef for some of
Yeah,
the fine-tuned things when we're
yeah,
actually filming the movie, because it is actually an interesting. I was talking to Rick about this. It's an interesting obstacle we have of there's going to need to be real cooking done
of course, of course.
because you can't really get around it.
And you can't exactly have a fake turkey that people pretend to eat from. It just doesn't look good.
If you get a fake turkey, you still need to have real turkey, right? Like,
Yeah.
so you probably need a turkey. So you need to schedule it in a way that you only have to cook one turkey.
Yeah.
So that's part of the dilemma too, is it's like, all right, so I need to figure out what day we actually need to have a turkey so we can actually put it on our plates too. It needs to be edible, or at least, you know, not going to give you food poisoning, but chewing on it and spitting it out. Uh,
Would I be able to play the turkey?
if you don't mind getting cooked in the oven,
Then
oof,
why not come on down?
yeah, yeah. That I think that's how Hitler advertised the concentration camps. If you
So
don't
tell
mind,
me, how long did it take you to write the script?
when I actually sat down to write it, that was the hard part. Is actually getting myself to I have a million whirling ideas. So what I did was I made a compromise with Drunk Jeff. I said, okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna start drinking. We're gonna watch between 90 minutes to 3 hours of TV or movie, whatever. And once that is done, so it could be, 6 episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm. It could be a three
Right,
hour,
right.
2 hour movie, whatever. Once that's done, you are sitting on this laptop and you're not stopping until you've written at least 10 pages.
Okay.
And I made that deal with Drunk Jeff, and Drunk Jeff held up his end of the bargain. So I would say it took probably 2 months, but mainly because I didn't drink for a few weeks and I was doing edibles during that time. And Hi Jeff did not abide by the agreement. So that was a something I had to learn about myself. Hi Jeff likes to just sit on the couch and not do anything.
And watch Sesame Street.
Or whatever. Yeah, I think I played like 6 seasons of a Madden 2021 franchise.
Okay.
Yeah, so like an old version
No
of
game.
Madden. And yeah, I think I played 6 seasons on franchise mode.
Okay.
Yeah, no, not a productive few weeks for me. It was a bad idea.
It's a bad
Um,
time.
yeah, so I had to get back to drinking so I could finish the script. And then sober Jeff did a lot of editing because there was a lot of typos. But the
That's a movie in itself. Some guy that just he just can't focus and can't work, but as soon as he gets drunk, he's like this wizard of words.
yeah, I think there's something to it though. It opens you up to not being afraid or over
Or just like not
analyzing.
overthinking.
Exactly. Exactly. It just lets you like, I'll write this down, and if it's really stupid, I'll just delete it tomorrow because I was drunk anyways. Like
Yeah,
it's almost like I've said before when I was doing stand up, the first time I didn't take a drink up.
right.
Every time after that, I don't care if it was my ninth drink or my first drink, I'd always bring the drink up on stage with me because it gave me the crutch of if I say something really stupid or like I did this a couple times where I'm just talking and I stumble as I'm speaking
Of course, yeah.
and I grab my drink and say, cheers. It gets a cheap laugh. It's a cheap laugh, but when you get tongue tied, it gets you out of it too. And then you can reset and go over and you got to chuckle for your mistake. And then you start, you know,
Or
so
if you
it,
forget
it was
something
a
really quick,
crutch.
you could just drink and
And that too, if you need just a second
yeah.
to gather yourself, and I would sometimes have a little on my napkin, have a little cheat sheet so I could actually consult it as I picked up my drink.
You
Um,
go write it on your arm and constantly look down at your arm and
what's next, guys? Oh, hold on. I wrote it on my ass. Give me a second.
yeah, right. Could
Can you
somebody
read
read it for me? Yeah,
that? It was really not a smart place to write it.
I think I wrote it backwards.
Just tape it to your shoe.
Right.
So just everyone's like, why does he have paper on his shoe? And just keep looking down at it. Is that an H? I don't know the punchline to this one. I didn't, my handwriting is terrible. But yeah, no, it gives you, there is a freedom that comes with even having like a drink, whether it's affecting you or not. To me, it's like, oops,
Yeah,
I said something stupid or whatever. It just gives you freedom to be. I'm one of
right.
those. The kid. You may have experienced this yourself. Um,
I have.
Erectile dysfunction.
You're right.
Uh, but when you're in school and the teacher asks a question and no one raises your hand and you're just like, I know the answer, but maybe I don't. I don't want to raise my hand.
Right,
And
right.
then the teacher says what it is, and you're like, ah, damn it, I knew it. I was right.
Yeah.
I'm always that person. Give me a drink, and I think it's this. And if I'm wrong, I don't give a fuck. Like,
Yeah.
because, whatever. I still got my whiskey, so I don't care that I'm wrong. And who cares about being wrong anyway? It's like,
Basically, liquid confidence.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's, that is the danger I've found with myself. I'm very responsible. And Drunk Jeff is very responsible at not sending terrible drunk texts.
Oh God.
How many drunk texts have I sent you where you're like, what the fuck did he just say?
Um,
I probably send you worse stuff when I'm sober.
I think once, but I don't remember it, and it wasn't. I don't think it was even bad. It was just like, "What's up?" or something.
Yeah, well, and I know I've had conversations where I was blackout drunk, and
Yep.
I still don't know. I mean, because I remember one time I was just like, damn, I talked to you for 90 minutes last night. What the fuck did we talk about?
I told
And
you a
you're the
really,
terrible
really,
person to ask that question because you will make shit up.
I told you a really good story. Then I found out you were drunk, and I was like, "Ah, he's never gonna remember it."
No, no, I will not. But that was a day. So I'm smart enough to avoid phone conversations, to avoid text messages or
Avoid the
tweets.
phone at all costs if you're drunk. Just
Well, I know within reason what to say or do and how to stay out of trouble when I'm drunk.
right.
However, when I
However,
when I day drink, like start early. Like if I go to Sunday brunch and have the bottomless bromosas, and I leave there at noon plastered, that's the day those are the days I tend to let, like, the sun's still up. So I should be social. I should be hanging out with people. There's now I don't know if it happens as much if I get like today. If I stay up, will I at 6 o'clock be sending ridiculous text messages to people because I want to hang out? Or will I be like, well, I haven't left the house. So it's.
have you sent any feet pictures?
I mean, I will upon request. People find my feet offensive because I've got so my toes in size order goes the, like, length goes the index toe, the middle toe, then the big toe, then the fourth and the fifth.
Okay.
So people find that disturbing. They like the big toe being the
Right.
biggest toe.
Right. How about the sixth one?
Actually, on this left foot that I'm looking at, I basically only have four functioning toes.
Okay. Why is
My
that?
my pinky toe I've broken so many times it doesn't actually touch the ground when I walk.
Okay. Because it's afraid.
Yeah, no, it's bent. Like it's not an attractive toe. It's kind of gross.
But do you have
Um,
like sensation and feeling in the toe?
A little bit. Yeah, I can feel. I'm testing it out. I have to shift my foot all the way to the side for the pinky to touch. Yeah, so I can feel it. I'm guessing if I broke it again, it would hurt.
Of course,
Um,
yeah.
but it doesn't help me balance or anything. It's not nearly as effective as my right pinky toe.
It just doesn't toe the way it's supposed to.
It doesn't toe correctly.
No.
No, no, no toe from my pinky toe, my left pinky toe. Um, so yeah, but I'd send feet. I'm not ashamed of my feet. They're just not normal.
What is normal anyway?
Boring. That's what I call
Boring,
normal.
yeah, boring.
That basically the definition of normal is boring, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
That's why I'll say this one thing in stuff I've written that I've never finished till this. And I'm not saying so I kept Thanksgiving again where I would say it should be a PG-13 movie.
right.
There's references to drugs. My character uses drugs and drinks prolifically. It's almost like my character is based off me. His name is Jeffrey. Um, I'm directing the movie, so I thought playing myself would make the acting part pretty easy.
Easier, yeah.
You know? Yeah. 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 I'm very self-conscious about my acting, so if I'm not having a person direct me to tell me what to change, if I'm playing myself, who cares? Um, there's some humor where I've kind of toned it down to make it more family friendly. There's no F words in the movie. Um, but other than that, there's a lot of things in the movie that tickle me and maybe only me. Like, and I'm fine with that. If
Yeah,
other people, if the comedy goes over their head, I don't care. Like,
right. And personally, you like to be tickled,
I don't consider myself a ticklish person.
right?
Although there was one stripper.
There was that one time at band camp.
Yeah, no, she did something that was like, whoa, what the fuck? It wasn't to my penis either. She was doing something else to
No,
my penis. But while she was doing that, she like did something to my back, my ribs. I don't know where. And I was just like, what the fuck was
that's
that?
that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it tickled. That's like, I don't
Okay,
remember another time I've been tickled.
okay.
I mean, I'm also a pretty large person. So tickling me, I feel like is,
Yeah, how tall are you? About 5'6", 5'7"?
I'm 6'2".
Jeff is a big man.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I mean, like Shaquille O'Neal, he could probably tickle me. I don't
Yes,
think I
yes.
I don't think I'm ticklish, but I mean, size wise, he could appropriately tickle me like I was a toddler.
Appropriately.
Yeah, appropriately. Well, look, another 6'2" guy can't tickle me.
No,
They're the
he
same
can only
size. A
inappropriately.
6'5" guy can't tickle me. He's not big enough.
No. Aaron
7
Judge,
foot.
Aaron Judge can tickle you. He's 6'8".
Maybe he's on the cusp. He's
Yeah,
on the cusp. I don't think I could tickle a 5'3" person. Maybe. Again, maybe that's on the borderline. Yeah, I think there's got to be at least like a foot difference in height to tickle, and there's also got to be a weight difference.
of course, of course.
So yeah, Aaron Judge probably doesn't have the girth
Right.
to get away with
Yeah.
tickling me.
Yeah.
We're going in depth on the tickles.
Yes,
So
good.
so Gary, tell me about your writing. Since you've asked me all these questions, like I'm a guest on my own podcast, which by the way I love because there's nothing I love better than talking about myself.
You know what? Sometimes, Jeff, you should be interviewed.
Mm, I love going on other podcasts. Um, I love I was telling my buddy this the other day. See how I asked you a question and immediately shift back into a story about myself? But I went on the Bad Roman podcast, which is a Christian anarchy podcast.
Okay.
Um, and I had the host Craig Hargis on my podcast, so he was just reciprocating as a
Yeah.
courtesy, basically.
Yeah.
Um, and I told him the story of a Halloween where I pissed on myself.
Okay.
And I've never told that story to my memory on my own podcast, but going on another person's podcast, I told it not
Fine. Yeah.
planned. I just, for some reason, decided to tell it. I have no idea why. And I've told stories about like Costa Rican hookers and stuff on other podcasts. I don't think I've ever done them on my podcast. So going
Because
on
there's a
other
standard.
podcasts, well, no, it's just like
A
my
no.
my family will listen potentially to this podcast. Potentially, probably not. My friends will potentially listen to this podcast, probably not. But nobody loves me enough that they will listen to another podcast because I'm on it. I mean, that's the bottom line. I am in with family and friends. Aside from like my parents, I'm in the he's cool. I like him. I think my fans. See, they're not fans. My listeners. I don't call them fans because they're not fans. There's maybe one guy on YouTube who comments on almost all my videos. I'd consider him a fan.
Yeah.
But everyone else is just like yeah, he's okay. I like that guy. He seems like a nice guy. He seems cool. Like, I don't want to pay him to do anything. I don't want to, you know.
You don't
But
want to pickle him. And
but if I happen to have his stuff start playing, I might watch it. I might hit like. But I'm not going to go out of my way to. That's kind of my following is like people who are just like, he's not bad. He's not bad. Nobody loves me. People like tepidly like me. I think that's my, and I'm okay with it. My friends are the same way. Like if I was like, I have an emergency. I'm about to fall off a building. Someone needs to come. They'd all be like, "Can you go do it?" It's kind of out of the way.
you know what? I would come, Jeff.
Yeah, but you're in New York. There's no time.
I
There's
would
no
I,
time.
I would walk and go like this.
But that's an insight, and this is a sad insight of how I feel I'm viewed, but also like amongst people I consider like my best friends, I still feel like most of them would be like, "Oh, Jeff has an emergency. I guess I'll call someone and see if they can go handle it because I'm not doing it."
Again, Jeff, I'd be there like this. And that would be enough to catch you.
Yeah, yeah, I would expect you would be able to catch me falling off a building.
Of
I don't
course.
know why falling off a building like, but if it was like I'm trapped in my house and slowly drowning. The water's filling up and I need someone to come break the window because I can't whatever. Like a weird situation where it's like I don't feel like anyone would respond. I think they'd all be like, "Oh no, we don't want that to happen. I should see if someone else will do something." That's how I feel. My audience, that's how I feel. My family, my friends, not my parents, not my no, I shouldn't say my family. My siblings would probably come to help. Probably. My parents definitely would. But I'm that kind of person who wouldn't want to inconvenience my parents. So that's the problem. Like it's I the people who do love me unconditionally, I don't want to bother them with problems. I do, but I don't want to. And this podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp.
Yeah, right.
BetterHelp.com/Macolino. Get 10%
It,
off or something. I don't know. It's in the show notes.
and if you tickle somebody, you'll get 20% off.
Mm, don't say that. I can get in trouble.
Oh no.
I will get in trouble for even referencing BetterHelp. Whatever. They don't listen. They don't. You know what? You know what? If they listen and they hear that, they'll say, "Oh, he shouldn't have done that." Maybe I'll see if someone wants to do something about
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it. Maybe someone else will handle this. So yeah, that's my biggest. I don't. There is a skill from going. It's an interesting thing as a creator yourself. There's a skill from going to people being like, yeah, good. I like I don't think there's anyone I've worked with as an actor. Almost anyone I've had on the podcast or I've gone on their podcast who's like, this guy's a prick. I hate this guy. I think most people are like, yeah, he's fine, good, yeah, like, but no one's like, I love that guy, and it's like, oh, so I'm missing something. I think it's
Well,
just
I
my
did that
dark, dead soul.
as soon as we did our first podcast, I was like, this guy's awesome. He's wonderful. I got to keep in touch.
Yeah, it wouldn't. Yeah, so I will say this: there are a few like yourself, and I don't know. I'm very curious. I should talk to. I'm going back on Frankie Corcoran's podcast in May,
Right.
and he was on my podcast once, and then I went on his, and he asked me to come back on. So he obviously likes me, right? But
Obviously.
but I should ask him how many, because I feel like I have a high percentage of podcast guests who I then have future contact or collaboration with.
Right. Which is great because that's really the great thing about the podcast is you get all these new collaborations that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and that's I'll tell you I'll tell you while we're on the podcast. I think I text you this the other day. But I this past couple weeks, maybe past couple months, I've been like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this podcast.
Yeah.
Like every time I record a podcast, I have a great time.
Yeah.
But what goes into recording a podcast, unless you're texting your buddy Gary and saying, come on, that's why I also said to you, like, I need to just start having friends on
Yeah.
more, like a couple, two, three times a year. And
Yeah.
then it'll be easy to fill the schedule. It's a
Yeah.
lot easier to text message a buddy who's been on the podcast before and make something happen as opposed to trying to reach out to a stranger. So many of those strangers respond and say, this is great. Send me your calendar page. You send it to them and they're gone forever. And I don't like to even follow up with those people because I assume they no longer like me. So I'm very bad at that aspect of so and I aside from when you did some of that for me, some of the scheduling and
Right.
reaching out
That's right.
for me. Aside from that, I have to do it myself,
Yeah.
and that's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And it's a pain in the ass because of a couple things. One is my listenership has gone down, which is not a good trend. I mean, it was at one point like 10,000 people a week, and it's not close to that right now, like substantially lower. And that's very bothersome. Because it was at the point where it's like I'm getting close to where I can actually start making good money off of this
Right.
if I
Right.
start advertising. And then Apple did something that fucked me over and a lot of indie podcasts. And I don't know what else has happened. Like, because my Spotify followers are good, like a solid amount of followers, but the listens have disappeared. The followers haven't, but the listeners have. So I don't know what's happened as far as why it's not getting as much, and maybe it's my fault. Maybe the quality is not as good, or maybe there's just so many more that they decided to listen to those instead of mine, which whatever. But I was at the point, and so the other factor was it wasn't because I didn't love doing it; it's because it is time consuming.
Yeah. For sure.
Recording the podcast, what the audience is listening to or watching right now is
Yeah.
the fun part. This is the orgasm of a podcast.
Yes. Yes.
The picking a chick up at a bar, you know, not always a very fun process unless it happens easily. When you email somebody and they say, "Yeah, let's do it," and then they schedule immediately, that's great. That's
Yeah.
the great
Yeah.
pickup at the bar. Most of them are not that easy. Um, Scheduling it, and then you have to craft your whole day around it too. I mean, there is a structure to my podcast where I want to drink because it makes my podcasting more fun.
Right.
Um, if I'm going to do that, I need to make sure I can do other things the rest of the day with a little buzz, or schedule another podcast that I'll be, pre-buzzed for. So that plays into it with me. The other factor is it's not a moneymaker right now, and I've even declined a couple of sponsorships recently because I said I don't feel like the numbers are where they should be for, like let's hold on and see if it recovers, or I'm not sure what's going on. Uh, Aside from all that, I am trying to edit the Dads and Drink show, where you have an acting credit in an episode. I've edited that segment, by the way, but it's way too long. I need to figure out how to like cut it in half. Maybe I'll send it to you and see if you have any
Okay,
ideas.
you got it.
Because it's like 11 minutes. It needs to be like five.
Yeah,
Anyways, you did a great job.
thank you.
Um, but I'll send you what I've edited together so you can have some input
Yeah,
on that
yeah,
if
yeah.
you'd like. Um, but I'm trying to edit that. I've got mostly 3 episodes done. I still have to film 2 things just with me,
Right.
but I still have to film 2 parts of sketches. Um, and I need to get a female voiceover as well that I forgot about. Anyways, so there's still work to be done on that. That I don't presume is going to make me money, but I want to get it done so I can throw it on Film Hub and see if anyone wants to buy it. And if not, I'll throw it on YouTube or CubeStream. Um, but I want to get that done. Not only for the actors who I paid, well, not you, but I paid other actors to be on it. Uh, so I could you get the credits up on IMDb and all of
Yeah.
that. And just so it's done, it's off my plate, right? But
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is
yeah.
a time
So you
editing
can move
that.
on and do any, yeah,
Yeah, that's time consuming. Like I could spend 40 hours a week for the next 2 weeks and I maybe would finish it. And I should say 60 hours. I don't work 40 hours. I work at least 60 hours a week. Probably way more than that, to be quite honest. Um, I'm in post production on the last ride. Now, I don't have work to do, but I have to lay out a distribution and a marketing push for that. So I spend a lot of time planning and, figuring out I need to go on a podcast guest tour when that movie comes out. So I need to start getting in contact with these people and figuring out when and where it's going to be out and when and
right.
where I need to go on to promote it. I'm in pre-production on a movie that I wrote and I'm going to be directing. That takes up that's taken up 60 hours in this past week
Yeah,
because I need to cast it. I'm reaching out. I've made offers to one major A-list celebrity and one, I would say, A-list comedian who I already mentioned by name on this podcast. And if they both say no, I'm going to be going after a couple more. Like, so there's a lot to be done. I'm trying to
yeah,
get product placement deals with a couple companies for that movie.
yeah.
This is all time consuming, and the podcast over here is like, well, this is a hobby that right now I don't see money on the horizon.
You ever think just doing the podcast instead of weekly, bi-weekly?
Well, so that's one of the things I considered is just say, hey, we're not doing every Monday. We're doing whenever I record an episode, as soon as
Yeah,
I can get it out, I'll get it out. So it might be 3 a week some weeks, and it might be 3 weeks until your next episode. Um, I've pride myself on consistency because I've
yeah,
had an episode at least every Monday for a few years now.
yeah, yeah,
But while it paid off at one point, it's not anymore.
yeah,
So that's kind of where I'm leaning is like instead of the weekly podcast, it'll just be I'll record them when I record them. I'll throw them on YouTube and on the places you listen to podcasts and just see what happens. And if no one watches, no one listens, I'm just doing it for fun, but
yeah,
I'm doing it for fun, right?
right.
Like then it's a different category of, well, I don't need to feel bad because I can't waste time on this for 2 months. So I'm just not doing an episode because I'm filming a fucking movie.
Yeah,
Um, you know, I so I think that's the place I'll end up with it, honestly. So anyone listening this far into the podcast, it's not that far into the podcast. That's probably what's going to happen by I'll say by time I run out of the Scratch My Noodle episodes, which is probably another 7 weeks, and I'm sure I'll schedule another few podcasts between now and then. But the other thing is, like I said to you, I'm gonna try. I'm probably gonna turn this, and hell, this is what Rogan's model is. If I find someone super interesting to reach out to, I will.
Right.
Otherwise, I'll just have friends come on the podcast and just do it that way. Like
Yeah.
I'll have you, I'll have Daniel, I'll have Dom, and just have fun. Just my brother, who was supposed to be on the podcast when his last novel came out, for some reason he didn't. So he's flaky. We can't trust him. Uh, I don't know what happened with that. We were trying to schedule it. It didn't work. I think it's because his novel came out right when we were starting to film The Last Ride, I want to say, actually. So our calendars didn't align well.
Right.
But anyways, I'll just do more of that. And at least that way I'll have fun. And if people like it, you know, they'll they'll like it or they won't. But I need to stop giving a fuck because I don't think no one's ever going to love me. So I'll just go for liking me more than they like me.
Or
Or
maybe,
hating me. I would if people hated me, that would actually be better probably. Like if people hated me so much, love and hate is a fine line. Like you care strongly about a person. That's better than just being like, yeah, I if you ask most of the people I call friends, they'd be like, "Oh, yeah, 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 he's a friend. Yeah, he's a friend of so and so. So yeah, we're friends."
would you ever think of like maybe doing so many interviews in a day and backlogging interviews so then you could take like a month or two off and you'll still have interviews?
Yeah, yeah, it's just hard to line those up.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? Last week, I think it was last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. No, no, yeah, last week because it was a Tuesday, I want to say. I had two podcasts scheduled and I was stoked because it's like I get
Dude, yeah.
so a guy who I've had on and I did background on his show, Bobby Borelli. That episode will be out before anyone hears this. And Parker Dean, a comedian. I had them back to back, like 1:30, 3:30. I'm like, this is great. And then Monday night, Actors Access sends me a thing saying I have an audition. And it is a live audition at 7:30 on Tuesday night. So I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I get two podcasts. I'm like, I'm going to start drinking at one. Maybe I'll line up a third podcast and just get knocked three out. I'll be drunk. I probably would have texted you and asked if you wanted to
Yeah.
do the late night shift. Instead, I don't drink during the first podcast because I'm like, well, I can't be shit faced for this audition that I had less than 24 hours notice of. Uh, the second one, I'm like, well, I got almost no sleep last night, so I'm going to take a nap after this podcast. So I had one drink, took a nap, woke up an hour before. So I had to stay sober until I was done with the audition. And it doesn't look like I got the part since I haven't heard back anything. But anyways,
Yet.
yet, yeah, you never know with these casting people. They could take time. I mean, I'll say this. I don't think anyone who's submitted for a role has known within 2 weeks they got the role with
Yeah.
me. Um,
Unless
it,
it's like a Ben Affleck or like a
yeah,
Nicolas
well,
Cage or
yeah,
something.
unless you get a like, so with the last ride, it's an interesting. I don't know if this is an interesting discussion, but I mean, you're in this world kind of, so I feel like you might find it interesting. I don't know if anyone else will. But with the last ride, a lot of the roles were basically pre-cast. Like,
Okay.
this is who we want to play this role. This is who we want to play this role. This is who we want to play this role. And if you notice, a lot of them were also actors in Haunted Happy Hour.
Yeah.
And then they came over and did a different movie. Um, it's a very interesting thing because it's, I've associated myself. So Haunted Happy Hour, I feel like I don't know how to say this without sounding like I'm trying to disassociate from it because I'm not, but I was just an actor on that movie,
Right.
right? So I just showed up, I got paid, I was the second lead in that movie. I had a great time, one of the best times ever, probably the best time I've ever had on a set because I was just an actor. I didn't have to worry about directing, production, anything. I just had to worry about my own business, which is knowing my lines, interacting with the other actors. I had a blast. Um, the cinematographer in that movie was Chris, and the I don't know what his title ends up being, but Rick was a producer, but he was also like a one man. Chris and Rick were like a two-man, like 20-person crew. It takes like 20 people to do what those two can do. Like they're magic. They set up all the lighting, all the audio, all the cameras, and they do it two people. And they do it faster than a crew of 20 does it. Like it's astounding how these two are able to work. And if you've seen Haunted Happy Hour, the scenes are pretty beautiful, most of them. Like they're really well
Yeah.
shot. The audio is great. The video is great. Now some people, and I'm not going to comment on it. Some people are like, I didn't like this story, or I didn't like that it didn't do that. And I'm like, I don't care. I was an actor. Don't complain to me about the writing of the movie.
Whatever movie you put out, there's always going to be people that don't like it.
Well, and I love it. The part of it that tickles me, call back. The part that tickles me is I'm like, what did you think I did on this movie? I acted. I did nothing else. I am not responsible if you don't like the way a scene looks. I'm not responsible for the lines, even my own. I mean, I was free to improv if something came up, but I don't think I improved much because I didn't think it was necessary. I thought my character's lines were pretty well written.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not responsible for the editing or anything else, and I'm not shitting on that movie at all. I think it's a fine movie. It's a fun, family appropriate movie. Um, so it's funny though from that everyone's like, "Oh, so the last ride's going to be like that." I'm like, "No, it's not. There's a completely different writer, a completely different director. There's a lot of the same actors. But that doesn't, including the guy who wrote and directed Haunted Happy Hour, Jack
Right.
Bro.
Right.
So I'm not shitting on him at all. I'm just now Thanksgiving again. It's like, is it the same as the last ride? No, there's a completely different writer and director in this
Yeah.
movie. It's
It's a
those
completely
the
different
three
story.
movies are completely different genres of movies.
Yeah.
So it's like they're all different, and I think that's great. I think that's cool, and yeah, I don't mind the connection to Haunted Happy Hour and that being connected to the last ride because if you look on IMDb, there's probably 7 to 10 shared people between the two films. And Thanksgiving again, I don't know. There'll be at least two or three
Yeah.
shared connections with the last ride. It's a more small it's a small cast. I mean, I think there's going to be 13 roles in the whole movie. Um
Well, it's just basically someone's house on Thanksgiving.
exactly. Yeah, there's yeah, it's really a small cast, and part of that is budgetary. Like, and not that people go out and about on Thanksgiving, but if you can film everything inside one location, well, that saves you a shit ton of money
Yes,
and
it does.
headache. Instead of having to worry about moving, look like the I noticed when we were filming the last ride, and you probably know this from being on a low budget
Yeah.
set, like people get worn down,
Yeah.
but the days the the cast and crew, and it was really me, Chris, Rick, and John. We were the four who traveled. No other actor was more than honestly a day player. Nobody, I mean, they play significant roles, but they were not on set. Like I think the longest any one other than us four was on set was 5 hours, aside from our behind the scenes photographer. Uh, but other actors. So, but the days we were worn out, the only time I struggled with like my lines were the days we filmed here and then we moved here and then we moved here and then we were
Yeah.
going to,
There's a lot.
and it's like the moving from place to place throughout the day was that was rough on all of us. Like it was like if you
It's
can
a
just
lot.
get in a groove in one location, like haunted happy hour, we were inside of a bar. So I think one day for like 14 hours. And I was tired, but I didn't just feel that like mental and physical exhaustion that comes with if we filmed in the bar and then traveled here and then traveled there and then traveled.
Right.
That is just there's an extra drain to it. I don't know why. So part of it's budget and part of it's just strategic of like one location makes everyone's life easier.
A
Now
lot
there are like
easier. Yeah.
four locations, but there's one main location for most of it. And the second most popular location in the film is my actual house. So easy for me.
Yeah, easy for you. You just got to wake up and go inside.
Hmm. But I'll probably stay at the Airbnb that we end up renting and using for filming. I'll probably stay there so I don't have to travel after the day.
Yeah.
Um, because as the director, I'm going to be wanting to watch dailies and everything, and I can bet you can bet your ass I'm going to be drinking. Like I'm not going to be like, all right, now I'm going to go home and drink for 3 hours, get an hour of sleep and shower and come back tomorrow. No, I'll just stay there.
Yeah.
I'll drink. Do I do understand I'm one of the people who is gifted with the ability to drink and work. A lot of people say that they have the weed effect on me where I'm done. Once I'm high, I'm out. A lot of people tell me they're the opposite. They can actually work while high, but they can't once they drink, they shut down. So, I'm just using what God gave me as a gift to my
Jesus.
yeah, I love to collaborate with Jesus.
Yeah.
Uh and there's no sacrilege in that comment, folks. Uh but yeah, no, I do I argue with people on a religious basis that God gave me this gift and he must have done it for a reason. So who am I to deny a gift from the Lord?
We collectively, you and me have a funny story. We both do. Remember, we just did this. We did the Dads and Drink show, and you told me ahead of time. You said, Gary, you could play a character if you want. And I said, I want to play this character, Ron, who is really bizarre and strange. And we did the whole hour and a half, right? And then your friend was like, what did he say?
Oh, afterwards.
Yeah.
So when we were done,
Because I did the whole we did the whole hour and a half in character.
yeah, Jeremiah was staying here. Jeremiah Hensley, my co-host on the Dads and Drink show. Uh, Jeremiah was staying at my house, and we were watching football. And I think we were done for the day with filming. And he's like, "Man, you're that guy's your buddy?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Man, he's kind of weird." I'm like, "Well, he was playing a character." He's like, "Oh, Ron's not normally like that." I'm like, "His name's not even Ron." He's like, "Oh shit." Then I guess he did a good job.
That is my favorite story ever. That is so funny.
Yeah, he had no clue you were acting because I guess I neglected to tell him because to me I thought it was hilarious because I'm like, did I not tell him I had a buddy who was going to act? And I'm like, maybe. So I've now convinced myself I must have not wanted to tell him so he would have more
Yeah.
authentic
Reaction.
reactions to
Yeah.
your odd
Yeah.
nature.
Yeah.
Um,
That is so
I've
funny.
convinced myself that's the story that I didn't tell him ahead of time on purpose because otherwise I'm like, yeah, maybe I'm rationalizing it in hindsight, but maybe it was because I'm like, he's probably not a good actor, so I don't want him to try to act like
Right. Right.
Ron is weird. I want him to think Ron is weird.
Right. And
Uh,
he had no idea.
He had no idea because he was judgmental about me being friends with Ron because he's like, Ron's a buddy of yours.
Do you think one day Ron might be able to make a comeback in something?
Yeah, if there's a Dads and Drink Show season three, yeah,
Yes.
don't kill Ron.
No. Well,
There will not be a Dads and Drink Show season three unless I make a profit on season two.
I
And
always
I
thought
spent
that.
more money than I would like to admit on
Yeah.
season two.
I always thought that Ron was like one of those people that work in an office and just sat there behind a computer and working for hours and hours and hours, and just that's just like in a cubicle, like just that's his job, and he has barely any interaction with other people because he's just so focused on his work.
I feel like he's the guy who goes to the lunchroom though, like the break room and eats lunch and just stares at the most attractive female while he eats. Just like,
Not just that he steals other people's lunches.
yeah, he just harvests his lunch from
Yep,
things that are in the refrigerator.
yep, yep,
He'll take a yogurt from Gary. He'll take
yep,
a
yep,
half a sandwich from Jeff.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah,
That
never enough that it draws full. Like he'll go into the Ziploc bag and get like half of somebody's chips.
right, right. Or like bite a piece of a sandwich and put it back.
Yeah, so people be like, "Huh, is this just misshapen bread? Did I not
Yeah,
notice this when I made the sandwich?" Get like a third of someone's salad that they made. Just,
yep.
you know. Yeah, yeah, he's got a smorgasbord of stolen, partially stolen employee lunches.
So what I wanted to ask, what is your writing process like? Does it start with an idea? Or-
Yeah, I mean, so far it's not been the most efficient thing, but it starts with an idea and then I obsess over the idea.
Right.
I think what would be better is if I started writing instead of just mentally thinking about it and talking about it. I like to talk about it. I like to bounce things off people.
Yeah.
Um, but that all being said, it's I've got some great A plus ideas. Some of them were based on dreams I had. There's one that I will probably write, even though I don't know that I'm going to make another movie after this, not self-financed. I think this is the last one. Um, that doesn't mean I won't try to crowdsource like an
Right.
Indiegogo kind of thing. I might even do that with Thanksgiving again to try to make some stretch things happen, like a Groundhog Day actor cameo. Um, but that's going to cost $10,000. So I'm not spending that on a cameo that will tickle the audience and make people buzz. I'm not spending my own money on that if I don't see support in the idea, right? So that's kind of part of the idea with that. But anyways, I've got a great idea. The script I will work on next has already been noodled on for. I kind of want to start writing it now, but I'm demanding myself to wait until I'm done with filming Thanksgiving again.
I just had a funny idea. Imagine like in your film Thanksgiving, everyone's coming to the door, everyone's ringing the doorbell. Hi, how are you? All of a sudden, somebody rings the doorbell. It's Ron with a turkey, and you're like, Ron, you're not invited, and you just slam the door.
I mean, you got to fly yourself down to Florida and deal with your own accommodations.
I'm,
That's
I'm,
that's your biggest problem. I'm not.
I'm just like this at the door.
Well, you do live in New York, so if you
Yeah,
can find your way, if the guy I mentioned earlier takes the job, if you can find your way into his luggage,
right.
I
I mean,
mean,
I can bend.
yeah, hopefully it's a big suitcase and hopefully he leaves it pretty unpacked. If you can get your way in there, get on the plane, you know, maybe
Things can
he'll let
happen.
you go in the suitcase back too.
Things can happen.
Yeah, yeah, there are possibilities. There are possibilities. Um, but it's yeah. So my process is very idea based, and it's also I try to. Oh, so the idea I have that the whole idea I have for my next script, which I've talked about to a few people, including maybe you, and I'm not going to go into the idea on here because I don't want to. let someone steal it. But it was all based on a stand-up joke premise
Okay.
that struck me while I was talking to a friend of mine whose father died. And he was not close with his father. It was just a, like absentee father. I think he was debating whether he was going to go to the funeral. Um, but anyways, the idea, a joke that I made in that conversation, I wrote down and said that there's a funny joke here.
Right.
So one day when I was going through just my little stand-up one-line ideas I have in notebooks or I have Word documents, all that kind of stuff, for some reason it struck me that this is a great idea for a movie. And then it just starts building from there. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I've got the beginning and the middle and the end of this movie. Now I just need to get the connective tissue. And to do that, I just need to sit down and write. So Drunk Jeff will be working on that when Thanksgiving again is completed. Um, so I think that answered your
Yeah.
question of my process. What is now you write yourself, right?
Yeah. Do you know the website Film Freeway?
Yeah.
If anyone doesn't know that site, that's an amazing site where, 20 years ago, if you wanted to enter a film festival, you had to be in the area to enter that film festival. But now if you go on Film Freeway is a hub for all festivals around the world, Italy, New York, Dubai, I saw, California, and it's all in this one place that you can submit your project to Film Freeway and submit your project to all these different,
Yeah.
uh, festivals.
Festivals. Yeah.
It's amazing. I wrote, I've just been having a lot of ideas. I wrote 13 short films and a feature in about a month.
Wow. In a
Yeah.
month?
In a month. Yeah. And rough drafts of everything, let me say, rough drafts of everything.
Sure, but that's well, I guess I'll preface that by the feature in a month is impressive by itself, in my
Yeah.
opinion. The shorts, I'd need to know the length and the
Yeah.
content. I don't not to off ramp because I want to keep on this topic, but good segue that if I don't bring it up now won't happen. Uh, I don't respect shorts. I don't know of a polite way to say that because that's not what I mean. Um, I
You
don't.
prefer longer films.
Well, it's not. Shorts don't make money. There's probably been like five shorts ever that have been profitable.
Right.
The only shorts I kind of like, I get them if they're sizzle reels. Like, here's a short. Like, this is a scene in a bigger movie, and we're gonna raise money based on this short. Shorts by themselves, I think we've kind of had this discussion with other things. I'm like, but what are you going to do with it? Like, if it's not like it costs money to do everything, right? So, like, if it's not
Yeah.
going to make money, then what are you doing it for? Because I just don't. I see people who have. I don't want to keep saying his name, but comedian who has 10 million views on a stand-up special puts a short out that he produces and it has like 15,000 views. Like he didn't make money on 15,000 views. I mean, he made some money, but not enough to pay for the short.
Yeah, he made a few dollars, but not enough to
Right. Yeah. If he paid cast and crew, he's in a deficit for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Now, look, I am in a deficit for the Dads and Drink show, in a deficit for the last ride, and in a deficit already for Thanksgiving again because I registered it with the Writers Guild. Um, I thought that was a good idea considering I'm like sharing the idea and the script everywhere. I thought it was a wise idea to go ahead and like 82 people have read the script already. So, um,
That's today.
what's that?
That's 82 people. That's today.
Yeah, and I'll send it to you after the I have I already sent it to you? Probably not.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'll send it to you if you want to read it.
I'm the 83rd person.
Yeah, yeah. And by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be 173 people. More people than will probably ever watch the movie. Will have read the script. But because they'll all be like, I like it. I don't love it, but I like it. It's good. I'll tell other people they should watch it. I'm not going to watch it, but I'll tell other people they should watch it. Anyways, the the so I don't understand the purpose of shorts. And the other thing with shorts is, and I'm not shitting on your shorts. That was unintended. That sounds great. Shitting on your shorts. Um, but they could be a two-page script and that's technically a short. Or it could be a 40-page script and technically that's a short. So those are not equal things either. So that's the other part I have a problem with. Like there's a couple festivals down here, one in Tampa, one in Orlando, and their rule is credits included, it cannot exceed 9 minutes. And I'm like, why? Like, what the fuck is the purpose? Now, there's been a couple that have been like, this is a scene from a bigger movie.
Right,
And I'm
right.
like, okay, I get it. You cut it down to 9 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. The movie, if you remember the movie Saw started off as a short, and then it was bigger.
Well, I had the R.I.P. Man. I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I got connected with those people through
yes,
you
yeah,
originally. And that movie, they have a short.
yeah,
And that short was a teaser to, and then they started an Indiegogo.
yes, yes,
Where that makes perfect sense to me. I understand that process. I don't understand, and I respect the work it takes to craft the
sure.
story and to film it, but it's like, so if it's a sketch for SNL or the Dads and Drinks show, then I understand the short. But that needs to be like a 4 minute short. Um, if it's so I you understand what I'm saying? I'm like, I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah.
understand the utility of a short. And I'm not shitting on your shorts. And I again mean that I have not read your short film scripts. And I also understand the other aspect with writing a short with no intention of producing it for a
Yeah,
competition is also a different thing.
yeah, for sure.
So that's a that's a different aspect. And I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
shitting on that. It's just I've said shitting on your shorts way too many times, and it's going to confuse people.
yeah.
Especially since we definitely don't wear the same size shorts. So,
Well, not anymore. You took all yours back. Um, So I think when I write, I think I don't write for the purpose of making this as a movie. I just write because I sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh, that's going to be a really good idea, or I see something in the street that inspires me to that's a really good idea. I think there's something, and then I'll just write it down. It's like for me, writing a short or writing a script is like a creative outpour for me. Because when I write, I don't know if any of these are going to be made into a film. Maybe, I mean, but that's really for me, that is not the end goal. The end goal is just, self-expression and uh, putting what you love onto the page.
yeah, well, I certainly can't shit on that. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Do you, and I, it's interesting. I think probably a difference between the two of us. I am, I'm always worried more about the eventual finished product
yeah,
as opposed to the process. Um, like if I wrote a short, I think I would be like, how do I make that? My worry would not be finishing the show. It would be, now,
yeah,
how do I produce this? How do I
yeah,
make this happen? Whereas I think you are more of a pure writer that's
yeah,
like, well, I don't, if someone makes it into a film, that's great, but I don't need to be,
yeah,
I don't know if this is your attitude. I don't want to speak
yeah,
for you,
yeah,
but
yeah.
like, I wrote this feature, great. If someone wants to make it into a film, I don't need to be a part of it. I mean, they'll pay me for the, whatever, and if I don't with me, I'm like, this is my baby, and I will walk it all the way to the finish line. Um,
I mean, I mean, for the script I just wrote, because I've been writing and then submitting, I submitted one of my scripts on Film Freeway, and I submitted some of my scripts into the festivals. And as you know, I mean, since it's just a click away, hundreds and hundreds of people submit to these festivals.
Oh yeah.
And I got word the other day that I was a finalist. And just even that, I was like, well, I just won. Like,
Yeah.
to me, that's,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. That's already just like I won. Um, but it's like for me, like if I submit that script and somebody like it wins something, knock on wood, and somebody likes it enough that they call me and they want to buy it and make, sure, sure. But that wasn't my intent of writing the script. My intent of writing the script is to, you know, I really like to write. I want to get my writing out there. I want more people to see it. Um, and I'm passionate about this script. So see, when I write, I don't care if people find it funny or not. I just want to write and express myself in the way that I think. Like sometimes when I write my scripts, I'm laughing out loud because some of the stuff I write is just so stupid. But I know that, there is an audience for this stuff. And if I find it funny, maybe someone else will find it funny.
Yeah. Well, that it is interesting, especially with comedy stuff. There's an audience for basically anything.
Yeah.
I shit all the time on someone who I actually have had to block on social media and my phone. So I guess I won't say his name, but I shit all the time on this guy who honestly was a very helpful person to me as far as he wrote these ridiculously terrible comedy sketches.
Yeah.
And I went over there and acted. And a lot of times I did not know what character I was going to play until I showed up. So I had to quickly figure out my character angle. And a lot of times he wrote things that were not suited for me very well, but I still did them. And luckily, most of those never got released. But I had to learn how to quickly assimilate into a character and just go with it. And then just his comedy was outrageous. There were a handful of times where I'm like, I'm not doing this. Like, this is so racist or so over the top. You know, this isn't this isn't funny. Like,
And with that stuff, you have to be careful, even if it's just your friends, because that stuff, when it's on the online, it's there forever.
well, and I've always said I don't wouldn't mind doing terrible things, saying terrible things if first of all, if I'm an actor and not a writer,
Right.
like I mean, I'm acting. I'm not this is not my personal views. So
Right.
if I say something horrific, that's not my fault. Like I'm being employed, even though I wasn't paid to do this. I'm being employed to do something and I'm doing it. So like Leonardo DiCaprio in Django Unchained.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody thinks he's a racist. He said the N-word 88 times.
Yeah.
And nobody has a problem with it.
Right.
And nobody should. So that's where it's like I understand, but I'm like, this is just legitimately not a funny joke, and I don't want to be associated with someone who's putting this out as comedy.
Yeah.
Um, and he, in his defense, he, never really gave me much pushback when the very few times, like it wasn't all the time, very few times where I'm like, hey, this is just not. But his comedy, I never thought almost anything we did was funny because we just had he's the kind of guy who likes to watch videos of people throwing up and
Oh
laughs
God.
hysterically. I get nauseous when I watch
I
videos
hate
of
that
people
stuff.
throwing
Yeah.
up. Yeah, I hate it. He wanted every episode to have someone drooling and vomiting and stuff, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like
That's a fetish.
well, but it's a kind of there's obviously an audience for it, right? There's an audience for people watching videos of guys getting kicked in the nuts.
Yes. Yes.
That makes me nauseous. I don't
Think
like
about
seeing that. I don't
think
like
about
watching
how
fight
big Jackass
videos.
was.
Yes, Jackass. Although the movie watching it with friends, I enjoyed most of the movie, but a couple of things
Yeah,
were,
yeah,
but like fight videos, and that's not a comedy, but I hate watching those because
yeah,
somebody inevitably, usually, gets knocked the fuck out, and I'm like, man,
yeah,
that guy could die. Like, this
yeah,
isn't funny. Like, this is like we don't know what preceded this fight, why like everyone picks their fighter, but nobody, it's like I don't like watching that shit. Um, so I'm much more of a person who enjoys a snarky, sarcastic kind of almost straight man type comedy.
yeah,
I don't like a movie with like three Chris Farleys running around. I like Tommy Boy, where Chris Farley is ridiculous. David Spade is very straight, and Rob Lowe is very straight in that movie. Like
Abbott and Costello.
yeah, yeah, that's I don't mind John Belushi, but he better be balanced with Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah,
Like
a yin
that's how I like
yin
it.
yang.
Whereas this guy wanted every character to be John Belushi, Chris Farley, and I'm like, that's not. But I learned to just do it. Like this is what he finds funny, and if he finds it funny, guess what? There's thousands of other people who find it funny.
Yeah,
Now, whether you find that audience is a big factor. So that's kind of my thing. It's like the comedy is such a spectrum. Like what I find funny, the funniest stuff to me, my mother would find 2% of it funny and 98% offensive. What I find funny, my dad would find 40% of it funny and 60% he's like, I just want to laugh, not think. Like, and he's a very intelligent man. It's not like he's dumb, but he likes dumb comedy. He
yeah.
likes comedy that is just right in front of your face and easy to
Jim
grasp.
Carrey.
I would assume he likes Jim Carrey. I don't know that he's watched a ton of it, but he likes that kind of stuff. Um, he doesn't like the ones where you have to really think about it, whereas that's more like I don't know if he'd like Jason Bateman, Jason
Okay,
Sudeikis
right, right.
type comedy. Um,
He
he
likes the
hates,
silly.
yeah, he likes it silly, and there are millions of people who like
Brian Regan.
yeah, there are millions of people. So it's totally fine. Like my favorite stand-up comedian is Doug Stanhope.
Yeah,
If you've ever listened to him, he's in Dads and Drink Show season 2. He's actually in every episode of season 2. Uh his bits are not for everyone. Like they they can get dark and make you think and all this stuff. Where a lot of people like just the setup punch, setup punch, setup punch. And I'm not judging anyone on their comedy taste. So that's my thing with comedies is kind of going back to what you said. You might think this is stupid or you might not get it,
yeah,
but if it's funny to me, it's got to be funny to other people, right?
yeah. And I think when you write, you have to be, I think the word would be unapologetically authentic to what you want. I mean, because obviously, if you're writing something and someone's going to see it, obviously you're like, I can't put this, someone's going to see it. I can't put this, someone's going to see it. But you have to really write the way you want to write, and it will eventually find an audience.
Yeah. So actually, I have a funny
You can't worry
anecdote.
about what people think of your writing. You just got to write what you think.
Yeah, and not worry about offending people either, I
Right.
think is important because I had there's a bit in Thanksgiving again that so now I want to make this abundantly clear. I did not use AI in any way, shape, or form to write the script, but I uploaded the script to AI and said, analyze the strengths and weaknesses, just to
Okay.
get AI's opinion, right? And then later I asked, the attempted humor aspects, is there anywhere where you think it falls short? And the thing that they said fell short was there is a argument, I don't want to give it away, but there's an argument between two characters where my character comes off as maybe being sexist. And AI's solution was he needs to be proven wrong. And I'm like, no, that's not fucking funny. It's
Yeah.
funny if he just keeps then agitating the person who accused him of being sexist by making other sexist comments. That to me is funny. Not learning to be like, oh, I should respect women. That's not fucking funny. Being like, oh, you're offended by that and you're going to be stupid. I'm going to continue to make sexist comments.
You know,
That to me is funny. More of Danny McBride, Kenny Powers type, you know, that's funny. Not being like, he needs to be proven wrong. No, how is that funny? AI?
AI will never, ever, ever, I believe, never, ever replace um,
No, no, it won't.
human human writing, like real human sit down writing with ideas.
I think it'll be obvious when it that people try to
Yeah,
use AI to replace it. Because again, that's the thing is its solution to the biggest problem in my jokes, my attempted humor in the script was that this character comes off as sexist and
right.
he should be have his face shoved into the ground
Yeah,
and have to eat shit because he came. And by the way, he wasn't being sexist when it like that's also the point. Like he's not being sexist. Like he's made a comment that is a normal thing that I didn't even know was sexist until this was actually based on real life. My ex-wife screamed at me for saying something, saying how sexist I was. She screamed at me in front of an audience of people.
I remember.
Yeah, yeah, you were there.
Yeah, yeah.
But so actually this happened after I'd finished the script and I went in and added it to the script because my daughter was with me and she and I were cracking up and then I just kept saying I'm just going to like start saying this all the time just to needle her
Yep.
like because I'm just going to agitate her because she was such a crazy bitch about me saying something so innocuous. I'll tell you in a couple minutes when we stop recording what it was. Um, and my daughter found it hilarious. So obviously it wasn't very sexist, but I was going to then because I found an exposed wound, I was going to
Right,
poke
right.
it.
Of course.
That is comedy.
Yes, yes. And AI, I don't think will ever understand different types of humor. It will try to solve the problem, but you can't teach it to get the joke.
Right, right. No, there is absolutely zero. I got, other than it giving me a couple of typos that I missed, I got nothing from AI as far as the script goes.
Yeah.
Now, it did help me with a couple of ideas with marketing and other things, but that
Yeah.
I think is more up AI's alley. Like,
But
help.
that's just something you can look on Google.
Yeah, AI does it for you.
Yeah.
Like you can. There are benefits to AI because they'll analyze data that it would take you hours to analyze, and they'll do it in seconds. Like, can you find me who to contact about this? Give me an example of how I should address this, and then they'll send you an email. Product placement. That's a good example of like they gave me a
Yeah.
great email. I had to change a handful of things just so it sounded more like me than a robot. But it like it would have taken me 3 hours to write what it took them 2 seconds. But again, that's an email about a product placement inquiry, not a script. I like that's what AI is good for to
Yeah.
me. Is like do the basic tasks that I could have my children do, but it would take them hours to compile the information. It would take you seconds to compile it
Right.
for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And drafting an email, like I don't like this is not a creative endeavor. It's just like what bullet points are going to be important to this
Right. Right.
company.
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't have thought of that one. That's a good one. So little things like that. So I think there's value in it, but not as
Yeah.
far as creative
No, I don't
realm.
think AI can be humanly creative like us.
No, no, because
Like,
it's
like for example, Jeff, if you go outside and see a garbage can, that might trigger an idea. That might trigger a thought. AI is never going to have that.
I just think of the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
I remembered I was going to also address. I'm wearing hats on the podcast because I'm not balding, and I think I've proven that by now. So I only started stop. I'm not wearing hats. This is a pretty nice hat too, by the way. It's fitted. I only started wearing hats on the podcast so I could prove I was not bald because I had a guest on. See, it's fitted.
Yeah.
It's nice, nice little. I only stopped wearing hats on the podcast because I had a guest who said podcasts are just a bunch of white bald guys, and I'm like, I'm not bald. He's like, oh, well, I mean, I assumed with your hat, and I'm like, fuck you. So I stopped wearing hats completely. But I think I've proven it. I'm not worried. If there's a hot chick on my podcast, I will not wear a hat to prove I'm not bald.
There you go.
I like to flaunt my gifts: alcohol,
And hair.
metabolism, hair, and my eyesight's really good.
There you go.
Although I'm realizing more and more I am pretty colorblind.
Okay.
So to me, this is like a cream colored hat.
It
I don't
is.
know what the hell logo I would like that color. That's like an indeterminable color. It's a little gold,
A
but
little
there's like hints
brown.
of red. I feel like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not for me to decide. I just like the way it looks in my own spectrum of icon. But my eyesight is good.
Right.
So I feel like that's more important, being able to read from long distances than tell what color something is.
Then determine what shade of red that is
I'm not a toddler. Colors don't matter. It doesn't like my grade's not dependent on knowing the colors.
anymore.
Not anymore. No, no. Uh, Gary, anything we didn't touch on? I realize I'm like, oh, we'll be done by 1 o'clock, and oh, no. Well, now we're
Jeff,
pushing it.
you are a dear friend. Thank you so much for having me again.
Where can people find Gary? Oh, I was going to make a joke about your last name being Miceli, and I haven't. I completely
Next
forgot about
time.
that. Yeah,
Where could people find me? You can find me on IMDb. Just to type in my name. My name will be in the show description.
yeah. Any socials? People
Yeah,
should
if you
follow
look on
you.
Instagram, just instagram.com/Gary Miceli. Just super easy.
Super easy. All right, Gary Miceli.
There you go.
Yeah. See, it's like an hour and a half flew by. I think more than an
Yeah.
hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next time we'll leave 2 hours. Well, we had 2 hours, but yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll talk about Miceli next time
There
and
you go.
ricotta cheese versus ricotta.
That's
Fucking,
right. That's
yeah.
right.
I'm just going to start calling them tacos and burritos. Fucking dumb
Yeah.
people. Respect our Italians. All right. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you so much, Jeff.